A very good morning to Dr. Wei and all my friends. I am Yongyue with matching number 293059. In this video, I will present my study on corporate governance. First and foremost, my topic is a study on the performance and determinants of PepsiCo Incorporated in United States. In recent years, PepsiCo has had some problems. The first issue was the black-white conflict arising from PepsiCo advertisement. According to NBC News, this ad was pulled from the show after publishing a few days in 2017. Next, Corporate Accountability announced that PepsiCo did not disclose all the valuable information to the public in 2022, which means the company lacked transparency. And the reason problem was PepsiCo recalled over 300,000 bottles of Starbucks Vanilla Frappuccino Chill coffee drink sold nationwide. It is because the beverage may contain glass inside. Based on the above thesis and scandal, PepsiCo had encountered problems in its corporate governance and operational risks, which can decrease the company's profitability. Therefore, in this report, I will do research based on three objectives. The first one is to investigate the internal factors that can affect PepsiCo performance, while the second is to determine the external variables that can affect PepsiCo performance, and the third objective is to ascertain the internal and external factors that can affect PepsiCo performance. These three objectives build for research questions, which to know whether there is any relationship between PepsiCo profitability and internal factor, or external factor, or the combination of internal and external factor. Next, my main topic is on company performance, and another four topics that will be discussed are corporate governance, market risk, credit risk, liquidity risk, and operational risk. For profitability, return on asset will be the dependent variable for this study. The rest of the ratio and rate will be the independent variable. According to Determinants, ROA is determined by dividing the net income by the total asset, while ROE is net income divided by the shareholder equity. For comparison, return on asset is a better indicator to measure a company performance. It is because return on equity could mislead the company in its financial performance if only it is calculated. Moreover, the average collection period and debt-to-income ratio are for credit risk. According to the past study, the company has a higher credit risk will reduce company profitability. In addition, liquidity means how quickly a company can convert its asset into cash. The current ratio will be used to determine liquidity risk. For corporate governance, a CG index will be calculated based on the characteristic of a company, while operating ratio and operating margin are to evaluate the company operational risk. Lastly, market risk is also known as the systematic risk. I get all the information for market risk from internet. For further information, my sample is PepsiCo Incorporated for the United States. This company is in the food and beverage industry. The number of observations is 5, which is from 2017 to 2021. Next, the statistical technique applied in this research is ordinary least square. It is also known as linear least square. And the linear regression in this report will be performed using the SPSS software. For the data analysis, I divide it into three models. The first model is based on the first objective, and the second model and third model are based on the second and third objective respectively. All the model will use the return on asset as dependent variable. After running the SPSS software, I get the descriptive statistic table. The mean and standard deviation for all variables are shown. Mean is the measure of central tendency, whereas standard deviation is the measure of dispersion. When the standard deviation is small, it means the value is stable within 5 years and is closer to the mean. The ratio that gets the smaller standard deviation in my study is operating ratio and followed by the operating margin. They both are for operational risk. Next, for the correlation table, the relationship between dependent variable, which is the ROA, and the independent variable are shown. Next, the p-value related to the correlation shows whether the independent variable are significant or correlated with the dependent variable. Based on the correlation table, only return on equity has a significant relationship with the return on asset. The p-value for ROE is 0.004, which is less than 0.05. For other variables, they are not significantly correlated to ROA, and the inflation rate get the highest p-value among them. For ANOVA table, only model 1 is significant with the p-value 0.078. Moreover, model summary is generated based on 3 models. In Model 1 and Module 3, the adjusted R-square are 0.985 and 0.818 respectively, which means the predicted value is perfect. In addition, the adjusted R-square for Model 2 is a negative value because the R-square is too small. Overall, Model 1 is the most powerful to explain return on asset. The last main table is coefficient. For Model 1, the return on equity is the only one significant to the dependent variable, which is the ROA. The ROE t-values is the highest and the p-value certainly is the lowest. Next, the standardized coefficient beta for return on equity is 0.901, which have a positive sign, which means when the ROE increase, ROA will also increase. According to Rand, ROE equal ROA multiplied the equity multiplier, which is the DuPont identity. Hence, ROE and ROA are intercorrelated, and ROE will influence ROA in a positive direction. For the external variable, which is the Module 2, there is no significant variable to ROA. For Module 3, also the study showed that there are no significant internal and external variables affecting ROA. In conclusion, based on the objective 1, return on equity is the only internal factor that is significant for return on asset. For objective 2 and 3, there are no external variables or the combination of internal and external that significantly affect PepsiCo profitability. Therefore, Module 1 can be considered the best module in this study. Yet, this result cannot represent the food and beverage industry in the United States. It can only be used for PepsiCo Incorporated to analyze. For recommendation, since return on equity is an internally important variable to return on asset, hence, a comparison between return on equity and return on asset will help us evaluate a company's financial performance. In summary, asset equal to liability plus equity. The change in equity will surely change the asset. Last but not least, the suggestion for the future researchers is to explain the sample size of the data. The higher the number of observations, the better the analysis. That's all from me. Thank you.